I grew up in a broken house at the edge of a small town. My father left when I was 8, chasing freedom and another woman. My mother worked 2 jobs, cleaning offices by night and stocking shelves by day. I remember her hands, cracked and tired, holding bills she couldn't pay. She used to whisper prayers over cold cups of coffee at the kitchen table. I pretended to be asleep, but I heard every word. That sound stayed with me longer than any lullaby. It became a promise I carved into my bones. I swore I'd never let my family live that way. I studied harder than anyone else because failure felt like betrayal. At 16, I worked nights unloading trucks to help with rent. I came home smelling like sweat and diesel, but my mother smiled with pride. That was enough for me back then. When I got accepted to college, she cried like it was a miracle. I carried that pride on my back every day. I studied construction management, learned how to build things that last. I wanted to build a life that wouldn't fall apart like ours did. Money wasn't about greed for me. It was safety. It was silence after chaos. I ate ramen noodles, skipped parties, and saved every dollar I could. I was just another broke kid, chasing a future he could touch. Sometimes, I'd walk past luxury stores and imagine buying my mom a real home. Not big, just warm, where she didn't have to count coins before paying bills. Those dreams became my map when everything else was falling apart. I learned early that no one was coming to rescue me. If I wanted something, I had to build it myself. Brick by brick, hour by hour. That mindset turned into armor. By my junior year, I barely slept more than 3 hours a night. Classes by day, loading docks by night. My hands blistered, my mind burned, but I kept going. Pain didn't scare me, failure did. I wasn't the smartest guy in the room, but I was always the last to quit. People laughed when I said I'd run my own company one day. I didn't laugh, I just worked harder. Every bruise was proof that I was getting closer. Every rejection was another reason to keep going. And somewhere between exhaustion and determination, I found purpose. Not fame, not luxury, just stability. The kind of life where bills get paid, lights stay on, and love doesn't leave. I thought that was enough. I thought if I built something strong, no one would walk away. But I was wrong. Years later, I'd learned that some people don't want stability. They crave excitement, risk, and glitter. They'd rather chase storms than live in peace. But back then, I didn't know that. I still believed hard work could fix anything. I still believed loyalty meant love. And I had no idea that one day, all that effort would be tested by the one person I trusted most. The woman who promised forever. The woman who would teach me what promises are really worth. I met Emily during my junior year of college. She walked into a coffee shop like she owned the sunlight. Blonde hair, perfect smile, clothes that cost more than my rent. Everyone looked at her, but she looked at me. I didn't understand why, but I couldn't look away. She was beautiful in a way that made you forget logic. Her laugh sounded expensive, like something meant for better places. She ordered a caramel latte and told me my shirt looked tired. I laughed, nervous and stupid, and she smiled like she'd won. That was how it started. Emily was used to a world I'd only seen in movies. Her parents had money, vacations, cars, dinners with wine and candles. I came from nothing, but she said she liked my simplicity. Maybe she meant she liked the way I adored her. She always talked about her ex, Derek. He came from a family that owned construction companies in Seattle. He bought her pearls and took her to Aspen for spring break. I listened, pretending it didn't bother me. But every story felt like a comparison I was losing. She said Derek made her feel alive. I thought I could make her feel safe, and that would be enough. I was wrong. Still, I fell hard. I worked nights and saved money for small surprises. Flowers, dinners, little things. She smiled, but it never felt real. When she talked about the future, it was always about the life she wanted, not the one we could build. She said she hated cheap apartments and second-hand furniture. I promised her one day she'd never have to settle for less. She kissed me and said, "We'll see." After graduation, I got a job at a construction firm. $78,000 a year felt like a dream. Emily said we should get married before life got boring. Her parents paid for most of it. I didn't mind. I just wanted her to stay. When Lily was born, Emily quit her job. She said daycare wasn't for our kind of family. I worked double shifts, weekends, whatever it took. We bought a house with a big mortgage and a small yard. She drove a new BMW. I drove a car that coughed every morning. She went to spas, yoga retreats, and brunches with friends. I came home to cold dinners and empty smiles. Whenever I was late, she sighed like I'd ruined her evening. She compared our house to others, our life to everyone else. She said we should travel like the Johnsons, renovate like the Millers, dream bigger like Derek. That name never really left our marriage. It lingered like perfume you can't wash off. I kept working, thinking success would silence her disappointment. But no matter how much I gave, she always wanted more. I thought love was about sacrifice. She thought it was about status. The more I tried to please her, the more invisible I became. And somewhere between her expectations and my exhaustion, I stopped feeling like her husband. I became her provider. A man she tolerated. A placeholder for the life she still wished she had. It started with her phone. Always face down, always buzzing. Emily said it was just her friends from the gym. But the way she smiled at the screen didn't look like friendship. She started saying words she'd never used before. Self-growth, authenticity, finding myself. She joined some women's empowerment group that cost $300 a month. I didn't argue. I thought maybe it would make her happy. But she came home later and later. Her perfume changed. Her laugh changed. Her heart wasn't in our home anymore. Then one night, she told me she had something important to say. Lily was coloring at the kitchen table when she said his name. Derek. The ex-boyfriend. The ghost that never left our marriage. She said they had reconnected online after his divorce. They'd been talking for months. He was running his father's company now. Rich, powerful, successful. She said he made her realize how small her life had become. I felt my stomach drop, but I stayed quiet. I asked if she was cheating. She said no, we're just talking. Then she said she wanted to visit Seattle. To see if what we had is still real. She wanted to take our daughter with her. She said Derek could show Lily a better life. That's when I realized it wasn't about love. It was about money. It was always about money. Most men would have begged. But I didn't. I was done fighting for someone who had already chosen someone else. I told her to go. She looked shocked, like she expected tears or a fight. Instead, I gave her conditions. We'd file for legal separation. There would be a custody agreement. I'd pay child support, but everything would be official. And when she left, there would be no coming back. She agreed too quickly. Maybe she thought I'd change my mind. Maybe she thought Derek would never fail her. 2 weeks later, I drove them to the airport. Lily hugged me tight and asked why I couldn't come. I told her I had to work. Emily gave me that same smug smile she wore when she got her way. Then they walked away, chasing their dream life. I watched the plane disappear into the clouds. Something inside me broke. But another part of me woke up. I went home to a quiet house and sat in the dark. I wasn't angry. I was done being small. All those years, I gave everything to prove my worth. Now I wanted to prove something else, that I didn't need her validation. I didn't drink, I didn't cry. I made a plan. If she was chasing luxury, I'd chase freedom. If she wanted a rich man, I'd become one on my own terms. Not for her, not for revenge, but because I finally understood that losing her wasn't my failure. It was the beginning of becoming someone better. The house felt too big after they left. The silence was heavy, almost mocking. But it didn't break me, it focused me. I sold the house, kept only what I needed, and started over. I poured every ounce of pain into ambition. I quit my job and launched my own consulting firm. People called me reckless. Maybe I was. But I had nothing left to lose. I called old contacts, begged for chances, and worked like a machine. Sleep became optional. Success became oxygen. At first, the money was slow. Then a small project turned into a big one. Word spread. Clients said I solved problems others couldn't. I wasn't just building structures anymore. I was rebuilding myself. Every contract signed was a piece of my old life replaced. I fixed my body too. Woke up at 5, hit the gym, trained until I burned. Pain became discipline. Discipline became freedom. Within a year, the company exploded. I hired staff, bought equipment, expanded. The man Emily thought was safe and boring was now running a growing empire. I didn't post pictures. I didn't brag. I just worked. Then came the calls from bigger developers. They wanted my name on their projects. I'd become the guy who made the impossible happen. For the first time, I wasn't chasing validation. I was creating it. And somewhere between the meetings and the deadlines, I met Rachel, a veterinarian with her own clinic. Independent, calm, and real. She didn't care about my income or my car. She cared about the man I was becoming. When I told her my story, she didn't pity me. She admired the fight. With her, I didn't feel like a provider. I felt like a partner. That was new to me. Rachel taught me how peace feels when it's earned, not bought. Meanwhile, Emily called sometimes. She'd brag about Derek's penthouse, their trips, their perfect life. I listened politely, said I was happy for her. Each call was easier to ignore. Until one day, our daughter called him Daddy Derek. That one hurt. I hung up, sat in silence, and decided something final. I would never compete for love again. Let her play house with her prince. I was busy becoming the king of my own world. The business kept growing. The money came fast, but peace came slower. Still it came. I started buying property, investing, building a name that couldn't be erased. 2 years after she left, I was richer than Derek ever was. Not just in money, in purpose, in self-respect. I'd learned the hardest truth of all. Sometimes losing everything is the only way to see what you're truly worth. And when you finally rise, no one can take that from you again. The news about Emily came quietly. At first, through whispers from mutual friends. Her perfect life wasn't so perfect anymore. Derek had started traveling constantly for business. He stopped taking her on trips. Stopped calling as much. She posted fewer photos online, fewer smiles. The fairy tale was fading. I didn't celebrate. I just watched from a distance. I knew how that story ended. People who chase gold always find emptiness. Still, curiosity got the best of me. One friend said Derek had moved out of their apartment. Another said Emily was drinking too much and calling old friends for help. She'd gone from luxury dinners to microwave noodles. The woman who once called me too small was now shrinking into her own mistakes. Meanwhile, my company was thriving. We landed a massive contract with a national developer. The kind of deal that changes a man's future forever. My name was in newspapers, on TV interviews, across business sites. Rachel stood beside me through it all, proud and steady. She didn't care about attention. She cared about meaning. When I proposed to her in Paris, she said yes before I finished asking. I finally knew what love looked like when it wasn't conditional. Emily must have seen the news. because a week later she called. Her voice was shaky, soft, almost apologetic. She said she was happy for me, but sounded broken. I kept it polite. I didn't ask about Derek. I didn't need to. A month later, I heard he had left for London to expand his company. He didn't take her or Lily with him. Emily had no job, no savings, and no one to call. Her parents refused to help. They told her she made her choice. Now she had to live with it. I remembered her words from the past. I deserved more than this boring life. And now she had less than she'd ever imagined. The woman who left me for wealth was sleeping on her aunt's couch. I should have felt pity. But I didn't. Because I had already mourned her years ago. I'd buried the version of me that would have saved her. Now I was someone else. Someone who didn't rescue people who destroyed him. Rachel asked once if I missed her. I said no. Because you can't miss a storm after you've learned to live in sunlight. I focused on my daughter instead. Lily called me every week, her voice brighter each time. She still remembered. She still said, "I love you, Daddy." And that was enough. Emily wanted passion. She got chaos. She wanted luxury. She got loneliness. She wanted a fantasy. And she lost reality. Sometimes life doesn't punish you. It simply lets you taste exactly what you chased. And when it fades, all that's left is silence. She showed up at my office on a gray afternoon. My assistant's voice trembled when she said the name. A woman and a little girl. No appointment, said it was personal. I knew before she even walked in. Emily looked smaller, older, like the shine had finally worn off. Her hair was dull, her nails bare, her eyes tired. Lily stood behind her, clutching a worn backpack. I hadn't seen them in almost 2 years. The room went quiet as they entered. Emily stared at my office, at the glass walls, the awards, the success. I could see the shock on her face. This wasn't the man she left behind. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Finally, she said, "You look different." I smiled politely. "You too." Lily's eyes lit up when she saw my picture with Rachel on the desk. "Daddy, who's the pretty lady?" "That, Rachel, she's my fiancée." Emily froze. Her face turned pale like the words had cut through her. I didn't look away. She took a deep breath and whispered, "Derek left us." I said nothing. He moved to London, said he needed to focus on business. Still silence. Tears started falling. "We have nowhere to go, Adam. I have no money, no home." I watched her crumble. The woman who once called me boring now begged me to save her. "Please, for Lily's sake. We can start over, be a family again." I almost laughed, but it wasn't funny. "Emily," I said slowly, "you made your choice." "I know, I was stupid. I thought I wanted excitement. I thought I deserved more." "You did deserve more," I said, "but not like that." She wiped her eyes, looking around my office again. "You're so successful now. You could give us everything we ever dreamed of." And there it was, the truth she still hadn't learned. Even now, it was about what I could give her. Not who I was. "I already have everything I want," I said calmly. "A business I built, a woman who loves me for me, and peace." Her voice broke. "What about Lily? She needs stability." "She has it," I replied. "She has a father who's always been here." Emily tried one last time. "Please, Adam, I've changed." "No," I said. "You've just lost everything. That's not change. That's consequence." Lily looked at me, confused but innocent. "Daddy, will I still see you for Christmas?" "Of course, sweetheart, always." She smiled, and for a second, I saw the only part of Emily I ever truly loved. When they left, the office felt heavy but not sad. It felt final. That chapter was closed. Later that night, Rachel asked how I felt. I told her the truth. I feel free. Emily chased a dream built on money and lies. I built a life from truth and work. And when our paths crossed again, only one of us still had a future. Sometimes revenge doesn't need fire or fury. It just needs silence, success, and never looking back. The wedding was small, just family and a few friends. Rachel walked toward me under the warm Hawaiian sun. No chaos, no lies, just peace. For the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid to be happy. I had built everything I once dreamed of, and more. Not because I wanted to prove anyone wrong, but because I finally knew my worth. Emily still lived somewhere outside the city, working long hours, starting over. People said I should forgive her, maybe even help. But forgiveness isn't always about saving someone else. Sometimes it's about saving yourself. I forgave her the day I stopped caring. Lily visits every summer now. She laughs more, talks about school, about her dreams. She doesn't mention Derek anymore. And that's enough for me. Life has a strange way of balancing itself. Some lessons come through heartbreak. Some through silence. Mine came through loss. But what I built from that pain will last a lifetime. Because real happiness isn't found in wealth or revenge. It's found in peace, and in knowing you were always enough.